It's the NUKA-COLA Lounge, presented by the S League.
Hey everybody, welcome to the NUKA-COLA Lounge podcast. My name is Asheninity. On our last episode, we featured an interview with an indie developer, Sean from Smash Games. Today we're bringing you another interview with a couple of special guests who are involved in the development of indie games. They're going to introduce themselves right off the top of this conversation that they had with Obsidian and Mr. Chimp.
My name is Jesus Fabre, and I work for the Mexican publisher and incubator Game Starter. And we are basically working with some studios from Mexico, and we are aiming to work with Latin American studios mainly in the future. And our work basically consists on supporting the young or not so young, but independent developers that used to be young at this time. And basically, we support them with the funding, we support them with a place to work, and also with the mentorship and the publishing power. Let's call it like that. Some visibility that usually is hard to get when you are an indie small developer working from your bedroom or from your co-working. We try to help them out with events. We bring them to events, for example, PAX East. And basically that's what we do. We try to support the local industry, and we also support the Latin American game devs and try to integrate them in our philosophy and like trying to give more visibility to all the indies, mainly in Latin America, with the publishing or simply retweeting, posting about their games with feedback in the way we can.
I'm Gerardo Garcia. I'm the CEO of Fat Panda Games. We're a team from Mexico that we make games for PC, Mac, and also for mobile devices. And right now we're working with Game Starter, making Flat Kingdom. You can buy it on Steam, even with a DLC with an art book and a very cool soundtrack made by Manami Matsumae, the one from Mega Man, Mighty No. 9, and Shovel Knight. And we're working in Low with Shotguns, our next game that is going to be released. We don't have a release date yet, but we're going to launch it this year.
Awesome. And as always, this is Obsidian from the S League with Mr. Chimp. You guys are the first Mexican developer, correct?
We could say that we are the first indie publisher in an incubator in Mexico, and I will dare to say that we are also the first in Latin America doing this specifically for indie games, like incubation and publishing.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking, and I mean that's a really good thing because in the next 20 years we're going to see mobile phones being in the hands of like 20 or 15% of the population worldwide to being in the hands of almost 70% of the population worldwide. So
yeah, it's
in 20 years, some of the cell phones that we have now will literally be like old, Atari computers. You'll be able to like charge them just from leaving them out in the sun for a few hours. So it's potentially a huge industry for every part of the world, and every part of the world it's important to start to foster good growth there. So yeah. Also we see here in Mexico, in Latin America in general, there is not a lot of knowledge about the market, about what it takes, you need to be successful. Like not only successful for a hit, to keep your studio like sustainable. Yeah. So in some way we want to help those small studios to become self-sufficient.
Yeah, I think one of the main problems is that there are no industry like that, in Latin America. I mean, there's some devs, there's some games and everything, but in the US or Canada, Europe and everything, the industry is very formal, and even if you are an indie dev, there's schools where you can learn to program video games, to use Unity and a lot of stuff. And I think most of the developers of here are learn from the internet and everything. I know also other indie developers made it, but right here you can only ask the people from the contact or the help of Unity, or to talk to other devs, in Facebook channels or in Reddit channels. So it's more like that. It's informal, even if there are games like Kerbal Space Program or anything, but everyone is barely on its own.
Yeah, here in Mexico we have Heart Fourth Alicia, that game from with the Kickstarter. It's a platform, a Metroidvania that got pretty big on Kickstarter. And there is also Kerbal Space Program. And
that's one of my favorite. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
There are a few others, like we can count them with the hand, with the fingers of a hand. How many developers can live making their own stuff.
Yeah, most of the developers go and join to a dev team in United States or Canada.
Even there's
work for hire. Yeah, because right here from my same city, there's the lead artist of Guacamole. So he go to Canada and join the team to make that, because here there are very few projects and dev teams, and everything is very informal.
Yeah, it's super hard to find people who invest on these projects. So when there is no culture, video game culture, the investors they used to look at numbers and they see this is Clash of Clans and this is Guacamole. So what I want. That's what
you guys are pioneering the industry there, and it's amazing, and it needs to happen. It needs to happen in more places around the world.
Yeah. It's not always about direct culture, like direct cultural influences. Like you have games like Call of Duty. That's a very direct cultural impact from America, because it's all about American soldiers, and it's directly tied to that. But then you have games that are a good Japanese title that isn't Japanese, but incorporates some of their finer points of how they think and how they create games and stuff like that, and they bring that into the scope, and that creates a culturally influenced game, which is nice.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about that, not only in cultural Japanese games, but also in the indie gaming, is that because you don't have the pressure of a very big publisher, you are focusing in making a relevant game that is for a niche of people, not for everyone. In Call of Duty, it's more like polish the graphics the more that you can, make it this like a war that is actually happening or based on something, and we want this game to be in Burger King and in every place, But in this is more like people who like platformers, people who enjoy the flat design, people who are lovers of the Nintendo classics or anything. So you're trying to talk in their language and not scream like in a major game of Space Marines.
Yeah, absolutely. We really like the art style of this game. It's very fascinating, and it's a really good, very unique style. You don't really see too much of it.
It's like Mario, it's Paper Mario kind of.
Yeah, it's very Paper Mario. Did you guys draw it, or did you create it with a 3D program and then put it into a 2D kind of style?
When we want to make textures of the game, we didn't want just to grab texture from Google or to buy it. We make a lot of the stuff we're making from here. So the waves of the ocean are even there's some day that I went to see my mom and eat with her, and I just see a clothes that was one of the towels of her, and she, can I take a picture of this towel? I need to make a texture for the ocean. So I made that. And also in this chair, I enjoy the chairs with weird design. So for this, I literally just took a picture of this chair and use it, for the patterns of a web boss. So it was very, everything that we have in our homes, and taking pictures and play with our own, how do you say, with the things that we got. So we had to be very creative.
At things at home. And that's actually a really good way to do it, because something that's really interesting in sound development, some of the best and coolest sound effects that you hear in movies is actually just some very bizarre things doing bizarre stuff to other bizarre things. Some of the sound effects in Star Wars was made by running a shaver blade across the bottom of a pot and holding that up to a microphone and then adding in a reverb. It's like that's pretty cool, because that's something that, it's just everyday things, and
very
inspiration unique. Inspiration comes from everyday things. So what were some of the games, you mentioned Nintendo, but what were some of the other games that influenced you guys when you were, children, when you were growing up?
Really? I think I grew up as a player. I told Jesus like some hours ago that I started when in kindergarten. Just an uncle just tell me, look, this is a Nintendo cassette. It's Mega Man 3. Play it. I was, okay. I love it, Mega Man 3. So I searched the older Mega Man 2. I say, hey, in this game, Mega Man can't slide. So I later buy Mega Man 4 and say, oh, in this have the Mega Buster. So Mega Man just introduced me to the world of video games. But, the classics, even Jesus like very much Castlevania. Mm-hmm. And it's also an influence when they, just mix with Metroid and make this kind of like Metroidvania. We wanted not to make a Metroidvania, but to make a platformer like Kirby or Donkey Kong, with very fast pace, running around in the game, like also Sonic, but with Metroidvania, because we didn't saw that in other games. So we don't want another Shovel Knight, even if I very love Shovel Knight. We wanted to make like a Sonic Metroidvania, something like that.
Yeah.
Also, we have the Demon's Crest, right?
The Demon's Crest is one of our favorites, because the gargoyle, the red demon, they turn into different gargoyles. But in that game, I don't like that you have to make pause, change into a gargoyle, and later put pause again. It will be better, with R and L, just switch between gargoyles, and that's it. So
more seamless.
Exactly, because you just pause your game and I have to turn around. So even if you are in a boss and you turn into 3 different gargoyles, you just screw the rhythm of the game. So we wanted to improve that. For that reason, Flat just turned into 3 different shapes, but in real time.
Yeah, this is very important. Also, there is an influence, not coming from games, it's coming from literature. There is a book called Flatland, right?
Yeah, from Edwin Abbott. It's a classic book about geometry and the 2D, the philosophy of the 2D. There is even a king that is square-shaped and everything. All the main ideas from the draft of the story come from the book. So you're going to find like 2 or 3 quotes from Flatland in the game.
Gonna have to read it now.
Also, there, if I remember well, you told me, Jerry, once that you had in mind, you wanted to make a reference to all of those 3D games in the mid-90s when the 32-bit console came, the graphic cards came in, so all the games were forced to be 3D. So let's say like we had like super shitty games like Earthworm Jim 3D.
Yeah, that is one of the worst games
Yeah,
ever.
so
Earthworm
that's
Jim
what,
was good in 2D. I don't know why they ever switched.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
2D, you're right. A lot of these games kind of like took great gameplay and threw it out the window
But
when they made the transition to
go
3D.
3D or don't.
it was like the same bullshit with the Sega CD. Let's put a lot of FMV sequences and let's remove all the interaction like in real time. Let's put some buttons here and there. So
Yeah.
this is basically like applying kind of a rule to everything and kind of conditioning all the creativity to pass through that hole of like it restricts a lot the creativity. Like if you have to, there can be good 3D games, good full motion video games, but you need to think beforehand. You cannot add these like a condiment. Like let's put some salt and make it like 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
quick-
I think they didn't talk it very good. There are some, very cool features like obviously Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, but for that reason, I think Error Jim was one of the worst. They will try, to use the featurealities from the 3D, like Mega Man.
Mhm.
When it became 3D, they didn't want to make like Mega Man X. They just say, look, in this 3D environment, you can go and explore everything. Why don't we use Mega Man X and make Mega Man Legends? So even it was a new game, but with cool features. And Mega Man X just tried to make it that way. Even in PlayStation, they still make it in 2D, just with 3D environments, pseudo 3D environments, because they really were pictures, but it was better that way.
Do you guys watch Doctor Who by any chance?
Oh, no.
I know it, but I don't see it.
Oh, okay. There's a good episode in this last iteration of the Doctor where they dealt with an enemy who was 2D. They weren't 3D; they were just 2D, and it was really, really, really kind of funny. And whenever I play your game, I always kind of have that in the back of my mind. So with talking about indie titles, how do you guys think that indie gaming has changed the gaming world, and do you think that it's a continuing upward trend?
If we took a look back to the first indie games, it was a very niche scenario. Back in like 2006-7, it was something that only like few people, few developers went into. For example, I can only mention one developer who have been always here since then, that are Introversion, the guys from Prison Architect, the guys from that game with a strategy game with small figures. I don't remember now. It wasn't easy to get your game published.
Yeah.
So once Unity came and all the press on YouTube, so I think it has been something that came from the production side of the things, but also it has been a confluence of many other factors. Like we have on one side we have the production. It's easier to produce a game, but we also have online tools to communicate, to create games remotely. Like for example, Planetoid Pioneers is a game that has been 7 years in the making and now it's on early access, and the team is spread all over the world. So if we take this, the communication, how easy it is to develop a game, how it is to publish a game on Greenlight, then you go to Steam. So in the end, the barriers to create your own thing, your own crazy idea, is only the talent. On my side, on my point of view, you only need to find the right people. You need to find the right people and the money. But in the end, if you have your like daytime job, you can create your project on your free time, and then you save money for the day you launch it, and you have to go full time on it. So I really think that this has been a cycle. Like all the market has been evolving and it been more mature as the time went by, and it's been more crowded, more difficult to get attention from the media, from the press. But at the same time, if you have your own identity, if you have a philosophy that's not like, hey, I need to be rich tomorrow or something. If you go with that philosophy of I will do what I want and what is sellable. How you say?
Yeah.
What is easy to sell or what the people like to.
Yeah.
Because we cannot develop our game only and expect people to come. The market needs to accept that type of game.
Also, I want to say more the thing that Jesus was saying, because I think the indie gaming changed a lot the main industry. I think one of the things that if you are a very big publisher or big developer, you have more constraints, even to innovate, because you have more risk, with the money. It's like saying, okay, we're gonna try to make something like Halo or to look like Call of Duty and everything, and for that reason, even they did it with Metal Gear. I love Metal Gear and say we need to make it sandbox. No, if it really needs to become a sandbox, is because all the tendency is to making sandbox games. So it's more like, I don't know if Kojima really wanted to make it sandbox, or Konami say we need to make it sandbox. He
was forced.
Yeah. For that reason, I think we can say, even if big indies are small indies or big indies, we watch like Journey. We can watch even games that are very innovative, like No Man's Sky, or even Braid Fest and everything. You, like an indie publisher, will have more flexibility for this, and you don't need to make a copycat or something or a big money thing. So you have, I think, more freedom. And the big industry right now try to become indie in some way, and looking back to indies to draw some inspiration and everything, because there's a very cool ideas like in the Braid with the time manipulation and everything.
Yeah, indies can make their game like whatever they want. They don't have someone breathing over their neck saying it has to go this way or this way.
Money.
It's when you're an indie, it seems like you can make the game that you want to make and that you want to play, and then you just hope that somebody else loves it, right? I mean, that's what you're in it for.
Yeah.
The money helps, but really it's after enjoyment. And I have a lot of indie games on my library that I play way more than some of these big blockbuster games. They're more enjoyable because they're new. They're innovative. They're more interesting. What do you think makes a game fun? What are the key factors you look for to enjoy a game?
Yeah, I think fun is very subjective, because if I tell you what's fun for you or for everyone, they can become with different answers. But we try to focus more in the emotions, not as much as the fun. I mean, it's very cool to have a very fun game, but Flat Kingdom is about challenge and is about exploration and color appreciation. So I try to get the fun involved with that, because you can just wait in some way and you're gonna look a very beautiful scenario, but also it's challenging because you're gonna die sometimes. Not like Dark Souls that is very hard, but it is a game that is not for noobs.
Yeah.
So we try to make it like that. What's fun for you, Jesus? Also,
I think it depends, because fun is a very broad term. I think that sometimes you don't go to a game to look for fun. You go to a game to try to live different experiences that can be completely the opposite to fun, like saddening or frustrating. But that's what makes video games great: the ability to make us put ourselves in the shoes of other people or other characters. So in concretely fun, the games that makes me feel fun, they used to have different. It could be, for example, I can't remember now. I've been having a lot of fun with humor, pure humor, like in Maniac Mansion, like Monkey Island, the Portal 2. So we have games that in some way or another they make you laugh, but I really have if I had to summarize the type of fun that I really like, is the one I have when I play with other people. Like, even better if that person is, or that those people are close to me, like physically. When you play games like Towerfall Ascension, when you play any kind of local multiplayer game, and you really become involved, like directly involved in the atmosphere of like the competition. Also the cooperative games like beat 'em ups. Let's say, for example, Double Dragon, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, any kind of game like that. The Simpsons arcade game. So we have this type. This is the fun I appreciate the most, when I have to cooperate or compete with others, and also when I have to think about funny situations, and I have to solve puzzles, and have to kind of squeeze my brain to think what's the funniest thing I will do in that situation. Okay, I will go for it. I will do really ridiculous things to solve this puzzle, and then one of those is the solution, or you know, this kind of situations are the funniest ones for me. And for you guys?
Well, as we learned just recently, we had a video go up a little while ago where Mr. Chimp here dragged me into disarming bombs, and apparently that was great fun for him.
Keep talking and nobody explodes is the name of the game.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
VR game.
If you guys haven't tried it, but
Nope.
one person has the controls on a computer, and they see this bomb, and you have to do different things. Well, you don't have the directions to defuse the bomb. Somebody else does. So he had to walk me through disarming it. Well,
without seeing what I was looking at,
and he couldn't see the bomb.
Sounds very interesting.
Apparently the game is a lot of fun for people who watch two people try to do it, and then sometimes for one person who's trying to do it. But for me, it was it was stressful. Yeah. It was still very fun to do, but it was very stressful. So in some circumstances, I get more fun. I play games, kind of like Dark Souls, that are very, very difficult. I play a modded version of Skyrim that I mod up very, very heavily, where you can't pay off a crime of like murder. So if you murder someone and then you get caught, they will take you and execute you, and that's the end of your game. And then the game will delete all your saves for that character if you do that. So I was out, in wandering around this world, and I see what I think is a bandit, and I'm like, yes, that's definitely a bandit. So I take my bow and I, do a nice long shot, and I kill him in one shot. I'm like, yay, I'm so great. Then I hear, Daddy, no! And the small child runs up, and then the next thing I hear that I see is, you are now wanted for murder. And then I'm like, well, that was a fun try, and then I re-roll.
That sounds cool.
So that
challenge,
that might not be fun for some people. So fun really does change quite a bit. And I think this is something that big companies can sometimes forget, is that, oh no, we've been told by a scientist that, 48.3% of people think that this is fun, and then, just the bigger margin thinks that this is not fun. So we're just not going to make anything like that, and we're just going to make what the scientist or the analyticist tells us that is fun for the bigger majority of people to get the most sales. And I think sometimes that ends up hurting them.
You guys have a couple other projects you're working on. Can you tell us a little about those games that are already out? You have the Loco.
Jesus can tell.
Yes, we are working at the moment with two studios mainly that are Fat Panda Games and also Authentic Illusions. Both are from Mexico, and the next games we are going to publish in this year, hopefully, if everything goes as well as we expect, will be Realm Walk of Soul, that is a survival horror puzzle 2D adventure, where you play as a teenager girl called Iris, who is kind of lost in her teenagerhood, that part of your life when you don't know exactly what to do with your life, with who you are. You are kind of depressed because you are different to the society, and this is how our main character is in Realm Walk of Soul. So one day you go to sleep and you awake in the middle of a kind of nightmarish world where you find some puzzles and kind of weird creature that tell you things about your life, about their troubles, and through their situations you learn more about you until you become more kind of self-aware of your situation, of your own identity and your own life. So basically this game is a quite hard puzzle adventure where you become part of, identified with the character, and you become part of the universe. We really want to emphasize on how hard the puzzles are in the game, and how much you need to think about the different conditions. There are logical puzzles, there are spatial, like labyrinth things, and they play with your mind, and you need to be really focused, and you need to concentrate a lot to solve the puzzles. But they are solvable. We are not talking about impossible stuff. We are talking about challenging puzzles, and also the game has different levels of puzzles. You have they are not all super hard. You can go the easy mode, the medium level, and also the hard one. And yeah, we are also trying to emphasize on the artistic side of the game, because it's very much Tim Burton inspired. Also the games from the 90s like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and also a Japanese game called Yume Nikki is very niche. Those games have been a very, very strong inspiration for Realm Walk of Soul. And this is the next one after Flat Kingdom that will be playable at PAX East for the people who is watching, so they know that they will be able to sit and relax, and relax in some sense, because it's not very, very pleasant. The game is kind of it's a game that makes you feel thrilled, also challenged, and kind of challenge yourself. Let's call it like that, because people is not happily playing. They really take it seriously, and they stay like 30 minutes playing, trying to solve the puzzles. So, and once they got it, they really go. They raise their hands and they celebrate. They feel like really accomplished. And the next game is called Don't Mess with a Lobo with Shotguns.
The name is awesome.
Yeah, so basically this is from Fat Panda Games, the same guys that you are talking to, Jerry and company and their studio. They develop a game, or they are developing a game very much based on those pulp fiction movies and cartoons and comic books from the 70s, with all the crappiness and all the
that is one of my favorite movie trailer lines.
Yeah.
Is, or you could end up like me, a hobo with a shotgun.
Yeah. Even the narrator talks that way.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay, definitely looking forward to that one.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Those things help us out a lot. Also, join us over at Sugar Bombed for community, discussions, and gaming news.